Some women spend hours outside all day long and come back inside looking refreshed, relaxed, and genuinely in their element. And some women duck inside after 20 minutes, worried about the heat, the sun, their skin. And I have been both of these women. And you know what? The difference is no luck, and it's not genes. It's actually a strategy. And most women I talk to have never actually thought about this as a strategy. They grab a hat, they slap on some sunscreen if they remember, and that's about it. Today, I'm going to walk you through my complete outdoor strategy for summer, especially for those of us over 50. I'm going to give you every single piece of it. The things I wear, what I put on my skin, and how I move through my day outside so I can actually stay out there and enjoy it. And I'm saving one thing for the end of this video. It's the one habit that really changed everything for me for this season. And it sounds so simple, you might even roll your eyes at me. But when I tell you the reason why I can be outside for hours and feel completely fine afterwards, I need you to stay with me until we get there. So I moved back to Pennsylvania a couple years ago. And this season, for the first time in many years, I actually have a real garden. It's not a patio garden with some potted plants, an actual garden with beds, borders, plans, and ambitions, and more weeds than I actually know what to do with. And I was out there every single day in spring, and I had plans for every single bed, and I had a long list. But I realized pretty quickly that if I was going to spend real time out there, I needed to actually think about how I was going to do that. One afternoon, I came inside after about a half an hour, feeling hot, uncomfortable, and a little defeated. And I thought, there really has to be a better way to do this, because I love my garden and I am not giving up on being able to get out there. That is just not happening. So I got intentional about it. I built a real strategy, and now I can be outside for hours. So let me walk you through exactly what that looks like. The first strategy is what you wear. We're starting with what goes on your body, because this layer is one that most women underestimate. A regular cotton t-shirt and a baseball cap don't protect you the way you think they do. One thing I love is UPF clothing. UPF stands for ultraviolet protection factor. Think of it like SPF, but just for fabric. And it measures how much UV radiation actually gets through your clothing and reaches your skin. And most everyday clothing has a very low UPF rating. A white cotton t-shirt, for example, has a UPF rating of about 7. A wet white cotton t-shirt drops to about 3. So if you think you're covered just because you have a shirt on, you aren't really. What you want to look for is UPF 50, which blocks out about 98% of UV radiation. You can find UPF clothing in lightweight, breathable fabrics that don't feel like you're wearing a hazmat suit. I've found quite a few that I really love at Lilly Pulitzer. Now let's talk about hats, because most of us are also doing this wrong. A baseball hat is going to protect your scalp and maybe the top of your nose, your forehead, and that is about it. The sides of your face, your ears, and the back of your neck are completely exposed. When you know you're going to be outside long, what you really need is a wide brim hat with at least 3.5 inches of brim all the way around. So that's going to give you 360-degree coverage. And this is not about style, although there are absolutely gorgeous wide brim hats out there. What I want you to remember, this is actually about making sure you're protected. Now, this might seem obvious, but let's talk about sunglasses for a minute. The skin around your eye is the thinnest, most delicate skin on your face. And it's the first place to show sun damage. In fact, I get a lot of comments about this, but I was a lifeguard. I used tanning beds. I used baby oil. I did it all back in the 70s and 80s. And this is what I have to show for it. I have a large sunspot right here, right in my eye. I've been putting lots of things on it. It just doesn't seem to want to go away. And that's why you really want to protect your eyes, because it is actually one of the last things that we think of when we're taking care of ourselves. And what you want to look for are large frames with wide sides that are really going to actually protect your face. Not tiny lenses that look great, but leave the corners of your eyes completely exposed. And what you want to look for is UV 400 or 100% UVA and UVB protection. It should be right on the label. Now this one is sneaky, and I think a lot of us don't think about it, but it's lip protection. Your lips have no melanin, which means they have zero natural protection from the sun. And an SPF lip balm takes just seconds to apply. And it's one of those things that once you start doing it, you're going to wonder how you ever skipped it. Keep one in your garden bag, your purse, your car, and that'll make it as automatic as anything else. So you've got the right things for your body. Now let me tell you about the product that goes on your skin first, before any of this, because this is the piece that pulled my whole routine together. Before I get into this, I want to give you a little context because I think it matters. I have really dry, sensitive skin, and for years, I've been using the same drugstore sunscreen, and it would sting my eyes every time I started to sweat. It also left me feeling greasy and uncomfortable, and you know what? I ended up usually avoiding putting it on because it felt like such a production. And once I started spending real time in the garden every single day, that approach was not going to work anymore. And that brings me to today's sponsor, Frey Skincare. A few months ago, I found Frey Skincare and their Glow Me Plus Tinted Moisturizer with an SPF 30. And I want to show you exactly what it does. So what I'm applying right now is one product that does three things. It's my moisturizer, my SPF, and my tint all in one step. And I want to talk about what I actually notice when I wear this and what makes this product so special. The first thing I notice is how lightweight it is. I genuinely feel like I have nothing on. There's no heaviness, no greasiness, and nothing sitting on top of my skin. As you can see, it just blends right in. The second thing I notice is that it doesn't sting my eyes. So that is a game changer for me. I'm in the garden, I'm moving around. I start to get warm and sweat a little bit, and it stays put. It doesn't drip, it doesn't migrate, and my eyes are completely fine. I also love that it has a really nice clean scent. It feels like skincare, not sunscreen, and it has a beautiful tint that evens out my skin tone without looking like makeup. It just gives me this nice natural glow, and I can't get enough of it. It is an SPF 30 broad spectrum, which means it protects me from both UVA and UVB rays. I also want you to know it's both water resistant and sweat resistant, and it's formulated to work with every skin tone. The way I use it is that I apply it directly to my clean skin right before I'm going to go outside. And I love it especially when I'm looking for the simplest possible routine in my day, when I'm about to spend time out in the garden. If you want to try Frey's Glow Me Plus for yourself, I have it linked down in the description, and use my code CHAMP15 for an exclusive 15% off your order. The link and the code are right below this video. So now your skincare is taken care of. Your outfit is sorted. Now let's talk about how I actually move through my day outside, because this is where the strategy starts to get interesting. Strategy 3, hydration. This one sounds so obvious that you might be tempted to pass it. Please don't. You know, I never go outside without a big glass of ice water. Not a bottle of water I grabbed from the fridge. I keep it in a thermal glass or tumbler that's going to keep it cold. Because when you're out in the heat, you're losing moisture faster than you think. And especially for those of us over 50, our bodies aren't as efficient at regulating our body temperature as they used to be. So staying hydrated isn't just good for your health, it's what keeps you comfortable and clear-headed while you're out there. And I always keep my glass right near where I'm working. I'm taking sips constantly, and on really warm days, I refill it more than once. It's not complicated, it's just a non-negotiable for me. Hydration is taking care of you on the inside. The next strategy is about working smarter with the conditions you're in and not against them. Strategy 4, timing your hours. You know, the sun is not equally intense all day long. Peak UV hours are generally between 10 a.m. and 4 in the afternoon. And during the height of summer, the difference between being outside at 8 a.m. and noon is very significant. I tend to not go outside during the hottest part of the day. I like to go out in the late afternoon, early evening when things start to cool down. That middle stretch of the day, especially when we're getting into July and August, I leave to staying inside with my AC and my indoor to-do list. And you know, this isn't giving up, it's just being smart. You can accomplish more in 2 cool hours outside in the early morning or the late afternoon than 4 miserable hours in the midday heat. And you know what? Your skin and your body will thank you for it. Strategy number 5 I have is shade breaks. I have a lounge area with patio umbrellas, and you know what? I actually use them. Every 30 or 45 minutes, I stop and I take a 5 to 10 minute break, and I make sure it's in the shade. I take a few sips of water, I let my body temperature settle, and then I just go back to what I was doing, and I feel completely refreshed when I do that. It sounds simple, and it is, but it's the difference between being outside for 90 minutes or being able to be out there for 3 hours. When I know I have a place to cool down and actually enjoy for a few minutes, I'm not watching the clock waiting to go inside. I just keep on going, and I'm so happy about it. Strategy number 6 I have for you is knowing when to call it. After 50, your body gives you signals that are worth paying attention to. Heat exhaustion is real. Overheating is also real. And one of the smartest things you can do is learn to recognize what your body's telling you before it becomes a problem. For me, the signals are pretty clear. If I start feeling a headache coming on, or if I notice I'm not thinking as clearly as I was, or if I feel a little dizzy or my heart is working harder than it should, all of those are my cue that I need to take a break. I wrap up what I'm in the middle of, I go inside, cool down, and drink more water. And now let's talk about the thing I promised you at the beginning. This is the one thing that changed everything for me this season. Strategy number 7, shade planning. I actually have a lot of gardens around my house, and I could work on any of them at any given time. However, I like to plan my gardening around where the shade is. I know it sounds almost too simple, but stick with me for a second. The sun moves and the shade moves with it. If you pay attention to your yard for even one season, you start to know exactly where the shade's going to fall at 8 in the morning versus 11 in the morning versus 3 in the afternoon. So now when I go outside, I think about what needs to be done and where the shade is going to be at that time of the day. The beds on one side of my yard are in the shade until about 10. So I like to do my work there first. The other side doesn't get shade until the afternoon. So that is my late day section. I'm not fighting the sun here. I'm actually working with it. And what it allows me to do is move through my garden in a way that keeps my conditions as comfortable as possible for as long as possible. And when I tell you this one shift changed how long I can be comfortably outside, I actually mean it. Before I started doing this, I would just go outside to whatever I thought needed attention and deal with the sun wherever it landed. Now I feel like I have a plan, and I can stay out there much longer because I'm not baking in direct sunlight the whole time. And you know what? It costs nothing. It's no extra equipment. It takes just a few weeks of paying attention to your yard and then using that information every single day. That is the thing nobody told me. And that's the thing I want you to take away from this video more than anything else. Sun protection is a complete strategy. It's how you dress, what you put on your skin, and how you hydrate. And when you go outside, when you give yourself breaks, when you listen to your body, and you find time to find some shade. When you put all of those pieces together, you don't just survive in the summer after 50, you actually thrive in it. Now, I would love to hear, do you have a strategy that you use for moving through the summer that I haven't mentioned? Let me know in the comments. You know I love hearing from you. Stay gorgeous, and I'll see you in the next video.